The London Air Ambulance is based at the Royal London Hospital, and the helipad for it is on top of the hospital of the building here, which is just across from Whitechapel Tube Station. And whenever I exit out of Whitechapel Tube, I always like to acknowledge that it's there and look up and nod and be like, okay, yeah, that's where the amazing service runs from. That service, which today I'm having a look around.
So today I'm with HEMS, that's the Helicopter Emergency Medical Service, and we're going to chat to one of their paramedics about the service, about how the service works, get a look at what life-saving equipment they have on board when responding to calls, and then end my day with a flight back over London to RAF Northolt, where the helicopters are based overnight. The first air ambulance charity to run an operation was the Cornwall Air Ambulance Service in 1987, and now across the UK there are 21 air ambulance charities in operation. London service was established in 1989 and first flew from Biggin Hill. The helipad here on the roof of the Royal London Hospital wasn't constructed until 2011. The original 1989 helicopter was replaced in 1998 by an MD-902. They gained a second one of those in 2016, but those two have recently been replaced by these two new Airbus H135 helicopters.
The aircraft team is comprised of two pilots, so a pilot and a co-pilot. The pilot will fly the aircraft, the co-pilot will essentially navigate to the job. London can be quite a difficult place to navigate. Also, there's lots of air traffic in the skies, planes, helicopters. So we fly with two pilots on our system. And in the back, there'll be either two doctors and one paramedic, or two paramedics and one doctor. And one of those doctors or paramedics will always be in training.
But how far does the service operate?
So broadly speaking, we cover within the M25, that's our operating area. So about 620 square miles of Greater London. But we do respond outside of London. So the aircraft was dispatched down to Brighton a few weeks ago. So if other ambulance services or other air ambulances are unavailable for whatever reason, they can contact London. If there is a patient that needs advanced interventions, we can then send the aircraft outside of London to assist with other incidents that are outside of our geographical operating area.
The air ambulance is here to respond to serious trauma emergencies in and around London. Most commonly, this would include road traffic accidents, falls from height, stabbings and shootings, industrial accidents and incidents on the rail network. And the team can perform advanced life-saving medical interventions, including open heart surgery and blood transfusions at the scene. A frequent misconception is that the helicopter is to bring people back to the hospital quickly, but it's actually about getting a professional medical team to the scene as fast as possible. They literally take the hospital to the patient.
We have a code red bag, so this carries human blood for transfusion, also carries big cannulas that we can put into people's veins if we want to give them rapid blood transfusions if they're bleeding. We carry a spare box of blood, so we have a total of 8 units of blood or blood products that we can administer to patients. And then these two bags are the two bags that we'll always take to an incident with us off of the aircraft. The black bag is a monitoring bag that has a cardiac monitor, and it also has a ultrasound device so that we can do point of care ultrasound at the side of the road to try and identify where patients are bleeding from. Then in the medical equipment bag, which is the orange bag just to the front, carries all our anaesthetic equipment. So if we give a patient an anaesthetic by the side of the road, either an adult or a child, we can provide hospital level anaesthesia and put patients off to sleep if they're critically injured, and then transport them essentially in a medically induced coma.
But when the pilot is approaching the scene of the incident, how do they know where to land?
The pilots will work that out when we're in the overhead. So what we'll do is as we approach the incident location, we have a map on an iPad, which will kind of give us an idea about spaces, so parks, large roads. But essentially, the pilots will work out where they're going to land when they're overhead. We'll have a look, and we need 2 dimensions, so essentially the space of 2 of these helicopters for the rotor discs to be able to land the helicopter safely. So that's totally the pilot's skill in getting us down in some really small spaces, sometimes in London.
And the fact that surprises most people is that the service is all charity funded. It costs around £5,000 to use the helicopter on a mission, and in a whole year they need around £15 million to operate the service.
Yeah, so the helicopter operation is charitably funded. So the doctors and the paramedics are seconded from the NHS, so I'm seconded from the London Ambulance Service, and then the doctors are seconded for 6 months, and they come from around the world. Well, we've had doctors from Canada, we've had doctors from Australia come through the system. But yeah, the helicopter operation, the air ambulance operation, is completely charitable funded.
There's also a whole bunch of equipment around the back of the helicopter.
So in the back, this is our stretcher. So we load patients into the aircraft at the back now on our old aircraft. it was quite tricky. We had to lift the patients quite high and put them into the side door. So this is a much easier loading system for patients. We take all this kit off, put the patient on the stretcher and slide them in. We've got some helmets here, so if we respond to road traffic collisions, or if we go to incidents on the London Underground where we need to crawl under tube trains, we have safety helmets in there for us. We have a ventilator in here for patients if we give them an anaesthetic, and we put a breathing tube into their airway. We can ventilate them. We have additional drugs in this black bag, and then right behind this bag is a spares bag. So essentially, if we go from job to job, if it's a particularly busy day, we've got enough kit to kind of stay sufficient for multiple calls at back to back.
Peter explains that sometimes you do get those days. You could be landing from one job and you're immediately called to another. But it's highly unusual to never get a call. They usually fly at least one mission every day. And on site, there's 2 dedicated firefighters who are there for the safety of the helicopter taking off and landing each time. There's also a training area, so that in between calls, work is still being done. And then, in the outside area, where the ramp is that allows patients to be brought down from the landing pad into the hospital, there's also a staff garden that allows them some important R&R time, a nice place to eat lunch, but probably only during the summer months. And of course, have that all-important cup of tea. I am in awe of what they do. I really am. Literal life-saving work.
Do you love your job?
Yeah, anyone who says that flying around London in a helicopter is not the most awesome job in the world is lying. Yeah, it's an amazing
but also
job.
You save lives.
Yeah, it's an incredibly difficult job. We see the most critically injured patients in London every single day, and that can be really challenging. But yeah, it's an awesome job, and I think it's a job where at the end of a shift where you've made a difference to at least one person in London, then yeah, that's a pretty awesome feeling.
I wanted to stay longer and learn more, but time was against me.
Got to the point of the day where the helicopter has to go back because daylight is fading, so we're climbing the steps up to the helipad again. It's just always that magnificent moment where you can see you can see London just out there as a view that never gets dull.
As we fly over a dusky London lit up with 1,000 lights, I do remind myself that I'm not here for a sightseeing tour, but you obviously can't not be in awe of the view that's presented to you 500 feet below, and I felt very privileged in that moment to experience this.
What, this is Winter Wonderland coming up? Coming up on the left, yeah, Hyde Park in the left hand side. Love it. Nearly sticks out. That does stick out, doesn't it? Yeah, okay. Hello, Winter Wonderland.
Great, no problem then. Northbound as you are is... London QNH 1024, correction, Norfolk QNH 1024 of your Saturday Industrial Service. So I'm an R44, listen to recharge down the stars. Seat front order rotation. Wembley to the left.
It takes less than 15 minutes to get back from Whitechapel in central London to RAF Northolt, where we smoothly come into land, and then, after the helicopter is refueled, it gets wheeled into the hangar for the night, where it'll be ready to fly again come daylight the next morning.
So my thanks to Peter there and everybody that I met and spoke to at London's Air Ambulance there this afternoon. I genuinely come out of Whitechapel Tube and always look up and think of their service. Their amazing service. I did actually already do a video on this about 10 years ago for the Londonist channel, but that's stuck with me. It's resonated in my head because one of the greatest things you can do as a human is help another human, and here they are providing an incredible life-saving service, and I just dearly, humbly love what they do. So there's links in the description to their website if you want to know more. It's a charitable organisation which still blows my mind, and it was a privilege and an honour. Thank you so much for having me and showing me around again this afternoon. If you like this kind of stuff, press subscribe, and thanks for watching.